Well, good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us. My name is Manuel Serapio. I serve as Faculty Director of the Institute for International Business and Principal Investigator for the Center for International Business Education and Research, or otherwise we call it IIB CIBER. And I'm pleased that you could join us this afternoon for the International Executive Roundtable. I also serve as Associate Professor of International Business at the Business School. As some of you may know, the University of Colorado Denver is one of 16 centers of excellence designated by the U.S. Department of Education. And we serve as a global education resource at the University of Colorado, and we're housed at the University of Colorado Denver. Each year, we conduct over 40 activities, but one of our signature activities is this International Executive Roundtable. We launched this in the late 1980s. We do about 9 to 10 of this lecture, every year. And excited to kick off this academic year, fall 2025, with this talk by Mr. Utrilla. What I would like to do is I would like to introduce, it's my honor to introduce our provost, who will do the official welcome on behalf of the University of Colorado, Denver. Provost Karen Marongel, thank you very much, for joining us. Provost joined us in late July, previous to her position here at CU Denver. She was Chief Science Officer at the National Science Foundation. And before that, she was Dean of the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences at Portland State University. Provost, thanks so much for joining us, and I'll turn things over to you.
Great. Thank you, Manuel. And it's my pleasure to give a warm welcome to everyone joining us today. I could not be more pleased to be here to hear David talk about this very important, very interesting topic of the role of AI and the future of the language professions. We are certainly at a turning point in many, many of our disciplines. And so I'm very excited to hear what David has to offer us today and bringing his insights and expertise to bear. David Utrilla, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon as our distinguished speaker. This topic is of interest not only to me, but to many of us here at the university and in academia, given the transformative role that AI is playing in education, including and very importantly in language education. And this area continues to evolve very rapidly. So we're very excited to hear the wise words you have to share with us today. This lecture today is special for a couple of reasons. First, we are co-hosting this lecture in collaboration with Brigham Young University CIBER, who is our closest partner in the cyber community, and the co-lead of the Rocky Mountain Cyber Consortium, which is a consortium of universities, schools, and programs in the Rocky Mountain region to advance global education. BYU's Whitmore Global Business Center's director, Dr. Shad Morris, is joining us today. So welcome to you, Dr. Morris. And second, we are joined by students, faculty, administrators, and business practitioners from the states that comprise the Rocky Mountain Cyber Consortium. So a big warm welcome to all of you. Welcome to this lecture and welcome to CU Denver. On behalf of the Chancellor Christensen here at CU Denver and all of my colleagues, welcome and thank you for joining us. I hope that you enjoy this lecture. And Manuel, I will turn it back over to you.
Provost, thank you very much. I would like to join Provost Karen in welcoming you, Shad, and thanking you for many years of partnership in the Rocky Mountain Cyber Consortium. It's always an honor and pleasure, to, work with you. Dr. Shad Morris, as Provost Karen mentioned, he is the director of the Whitmore Global Center at Brigham Young University Marriott School of Business. He is also a chair professor of Management, the Stone Professor of Management at Brigham Young University. Shad, I would like to turn this over to you to introduce our distinguished guest speaker.
Thank you, Manuel. It is my pleasure to introduce to you all David Utrilla, who is actually on our board at the center at Brigham Young University. And David studied business and economics in both Peru and the United States. In 1995, he founded US Translation Company, which is to trademark that name, it is the company, US Translation Company for the whole US. He currently serves as the CEO for that organization. His company has been recognized with many different awards, including Utah's Best of State. He's been listed 6 times in Inc. 5000 for the fastest growing companies in America, Mountain West Capital Network's top 100 fastest growing companies, and the SBA's Small Business Person of the Year award. Just one other thing about David, in 2009, he was appointed by the president of Peru as the honorary consul of Peru in Utah, a position he held until just last year. So with that, without further ado, I will turn the time over to David and his team to teach us more about AI and translation and language.
Thank you so much, Chad, Morris, for that wonderful introduction. And also I want to thank Manuel Serapio for coordinating this event, this webinar, as well as Karen Marugel, who is the provost at the University of Colorado, and of course, great gratitude to the cyber program for having this type of presentations available for not just for faculties and universities, but also for the students and the community as well. So big thanks to University of Colorado and of course Brigham Young University. What I will be presenting today will be on the topic of the new normal in the AI era and the future of language professions, including what universities must know to prepare the next generation. Let's go to the next slide. So this is a little bit about our company, just to give you a glimpse of who we are. We are considered a one-stop language solution, providing not just written translation services, but also interpretation services and everything in between too. You will be, and of course, this is combining the humans and also AI technologies. And you will be, in my presentation, you will be seeing some demonstrations on how AI is being used, not just in interpretation, in many areas of interpretation, but also in translation as well, and how things are evolving and changing quite a bit. I think at the end, something that you would have as a takeaway, something that is going to be constant moving forward is change. And we will have a choice to either embrace it and enjoy all of the wonderful things that come with technology and with these new solutions, or staying behind and becoming obsolete. Hopefully it's a first for all of us that are here. So let's go to the next slide. On the next slide, what I would like to give you is some sort of historical background, just to get into the topic that we have. As you can see, our company started in 1995, so kind of where they say 2G there. This is the time where when we were talking about machine translation, we were talking about translation memories, and all translators at the time were very nervous because they were thinking that translation memories were going to replace them, or it was going to reduce their amount of work and income, and everybody was super stressed. I remember those days, and and basically the way that translators look at 3Ms were as the enemy. So what we discovered, however, throughout the years was that TMs actually were not the enemies. They became the best friends of translators because they were able to do more and even make more money too. So in a way, it was a great blessing for them to have that technology available. So TMs went for a while until about the year 2020, where we started to talk about neural machine translation. Dave is going to speak more about that in a moment. But then, as you can see, since the year 2010 to now, the growth have been exponential. So we have done more since 2010 to now than what we have developed in the previous 50 years in the translation industry. Let's go to the next slide. So this is I like this slide because it illustrates about the reality when it comes to global content and what is being translated and what is not. So where you see there is the less than 1% if you look at the total content that exists in the world, we are talking about 7,000 languages and content that is being generated every minute in multiple languages. And that, when you look at the whole content as a whole, only 2% of that content, to be specific, 1.98% is being translated. And of that percentage, only 2% is being translated by humans. So the reality is that despite having these AI translation solutions, there is a lot that needs to be translated, and there is a lot of room to grow. And we will talk about a little bit how that looks like, how growth looks like in this hybrid model of human and AI. Let's go to the next slide. All right. So what I would like to do next is I would like to have Swayze Hansen. She is the head of our interpreting solutions department, and I want her to talk about AI specifically in interpretation, and even go to the point of doing an actual AI interpretation demonstration for you. We will, so I will give the time now to Swayze to present. And then what I would like is that since we will be changing subjects, going from interpretation to translation, I would like it when Swayze ends, if there is any questions that you have about AI in interpretation, maybe that's a time to ask questions, or we can always follow the agenda too, which is at the very end, we can give you the time for you to ask questions for interpretation, translation, or anything that perhaps we haven't covered. I will leave that up to you, but I will give now the time to Swayze. Take it over, please.
Yeah, and please, please post your questions on the chat, and we will moderate. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, thank you everybody for joining, and it's lovely to see everybody here. My name is Swayze. I'm our head of interpretation, as David said. I've been working here for about 2 years, and we've been using AI for just a little bit longer than that in our day-to-day business, and we've seen a lot of changes happening pretty quickly. I want to go over just briefly some of the things that we've been seeing that have been added this year. But just starting with what is interpretation, it's anything live, any communication going from language to language or to sign language as well. So what we've been seeing this year is some additions to the AI tools that we have that make it a little bit easier to use and a little bit easier for the attendees to access. And we even have what's called automatic language detection now, where if the language that's spoken changes, AI within about 5 seconds can recognize which language that is and switch to listen for that new language as an input. I'll get into the demo and you'll see why that is important. But some other exciting things that we've been seeing recently is that we can actually do British Sign Language live using AI now. We are actually working on the ASL component to that, which should be available later this year. But the process of where that's coming from is going from about 2 to 3 minutes of latency of just waiting for the AI to interpret to now we're down to about 20 seconds latency, which may seem like a long time if you're used to simultaneous interpretation. But to get that far within a few months really makes us excited to be able to use this to be more accessible for people that are hard of hearing or need sign language to help them participate. We've also added 20 new languages. Haitian Creole is one of those, for example. And how we work with some of our AI partners in the language community is as consultants, since we work with clients every single day and we're helping them to facilitate their use cases, we can see which languages are doing well, which languages are requested more often than others, and which ones are maybe lacking or need more training. So we're able to consult with our AI partners and let them know where they need to focus more energy and make some improvements. But it doesn't happen overnight, but it is changing very rapidly. We do have over 19,000 language combinations, so all of our inputs are not just English to another language, but you could also do, French to Spanish, Spanish to Turkish, and, any of those combinations you can imagine. And one other thing that's been exciting is just the way that the definition of a hybrid solution is expanding. So hybrid doesn't just refer now to events that are both on site and remote, but it also it can mean using both human interpreters and supplementing AI interpretation for some of the language needs, or even hybrid using AI software with hardware devices. So I'll talk a little bit about the on-site and remote and hybrid solutions that we have been doing successfully. We are able to do two-way translation, so that can accommodate things like Q&A and conversations as well. We do have the integrations with all of your typical virtual or remote platforms like Zoom and Teams. And captioning has also been very popular as a request because it can help our clients and customers reach their ADA compliance requirements. For people who are hard of hearing or in that community, for them to be able to read the captions, at least they have a little bit of extra accessibility that way. And then we're also able to do speech to speech, which is a little bit closer to consecutive style interpretation, which you'll see shortly in this demo. And speaking of AI interpretation, where it comes from, you all are probably familiar with large language models. But that is where we get the text that generates the captions as well as the speech to speech that we use. There are some really good things about where AI is right now in the language industry. One of the ways that we're able to ensure that it is as accurate as possible is by creating custom glossaries for our clients. So they send us a list of terms and any specific brand names or even people like myself whose names may be a little bit more difficult to spell. We make sure that those are all added into a glossary and their different languages. We can show the AI the ways that we want things translated, whether you want the acronyms to be translated or left as they are. And you can also cancel words that you don't want the AI to translate. So if you have a list of inappropriate terms or things that you don't want your attendees to see, you can either boost or you can ignore those terms. There are a few areas that still are not quite up to the standards of our human interpreters. For example, AI is very confident, but Sometimes it is just making things up. So that's important to note that it does a lot of the time need some assistance from humans to do additional training. A lot of our languages available can cover your basic language needs. However, when you get into specific dialects, it's not fully covering all of those languages at this point. So, for example, with Spanish, right now we have Latin American Spanish or Spanish from Spain. But if you specifically needed, let's say, Chilean Spanish, we're not going to have an AI tool that is very specifically localized to that region. So those are areas where it would be good to have a human interpreter who is specialized in that area. And then you'll also see there is some latency with the speech to speech. It's a lot closer to consecutive style interpretation when you're listening to it. And part of the reason for that is the syntax and the differences in languages because it only gets one chance to interpret. So it will mostly listen for a complete sentence to be finished before it will actually translate it. And at this point, the tool that I was showing you, you are able to scan the QR code on the screen and actually see that on your mobile device if you have that available. So I will leave this up for a couple of minutes, and anybody who is joining, I encourage you to scan this QR code and select what language you would like to participate in. You're able to scroll through and see all the different languages that we have available at this time. And if there's one of those that stand out to you or one that you're familiar with, go ahead and give it a try.
With this, you will have the option to just read the captioning in the language that you have selected, or you can also hear the interpretation in the language that you have selected as well.
Yeah, so you'll be able to tell that this is picking up the audio from anybody who's in this Zoom call, as this is integrated with our remote platform. And to access the speech-to-speech function, on the bottom right corner of your screen is a little speaker icon that's showing as muted. So if you unmute that, and also make sure that your phone is not on silent mode or set to vibrate, then it will use the speaker in your phone to play the audio. And this is where we also recommend that attendees or people on site bring their own earbuds, whether it's Bluetooth or whatever works with their devices, so that they can listen to the audio without being a distraction to people around them. However, a lot of people prefer to just read the captions because they do keep up a lot better in live time as they're more instantaneous than the speech. But we do also have transcripts available for everything that is recorded with the AI. And this can be either you can be as transparent as you'd like to be. We see this a lot with government who are trying to show the public what they're actually talking about in their meetings. So you can have a live transcript that is available once the session ends. And then on the opposite end of that, you can also turn off the transcripts for areas that are higher security or privacy focused, where the transcript is never produced. So we can lean, towards whatever end of the spectrum the needs of the customer have.
And the other thing that I would like to say is that this goes from English into any of the 70 languages available, but also from any of the 70 languages into any of all of them too. So for example, and you also have a language recognition. For example, I will switch now, if it's okay with you, Swayze, I can start speaking in Spanish, and then you want to, even though I'm speaking Spanish, you're going to be able to listen to the language that you selected. So do you want me to do that, Swayze?
Yeah, and just to give everybody a little bit background of how language detection works, I mentioned a little earlier, it takes about 5 seconds to recognize the language. So we recommend people use a little transition sentence. For example, I'm going to start speaking in English now, and then just continue speaking, and the AI will catch up in about 5 to 7 seconds. So let's give that a try, David, if you want to speak some Spanish.
Yeah, so I'm going to start speaking in Spanish now. Bienvenidos a esta presentación en donde estamos hablando sobre la tecnología de AI en lo que es interpretación simultánea. Estamos muy contentos de presentarles esta solución que es utilizada para eventos, para las cortes, para los colegios y tiene varios usos que son importantes en lo que es la comunicación. Como ustedes saben, mucha gente no habla el inglés y a veces quiere una solución rápida y esta es una muy buena solución para eso. El nivel de precisión es del 95%, lo cual es algo aceptable y muchos de nuestros clientes están muy contentos de utilizar esta solución diariamente.
Okay, hopefully everybody was able to understand what David said using the tool or by looking on my screen that had both of the languages showing. With captioning, we're able to do multiple languages at a time, depending on how large your screen is. And that's something that we've also been able to have in larger conferences to have those displayed throughout the rooms, supporting as many languages as are offered right now. At the moment, we have around 70 languages available. And the last thing I wanted to talk about is some of the things that we're doing with hardware. One thing that lets AI be a little more cost effective for our clients can be removing the need for equipment such as transmitters and receivers, and even the interpretation booths like we typically would sell for an event. However, as you've seen using your mobile devices, you are able to use that like your own receiver. So this would be a bring your own device type of event. However, cell phones are always welcome in every event or scenario. And a lot of the times they're actually prohibited from certain sectors, like in government or areas with a high level of compliance. So in order to adhere to these policies, we can take the audio that you were listening to on your mobile device and actually pull that into another transmitter, creating a different type of hybrid solution where the interpretation is coming from AI software, but the way that you access the interpretation is coming through our new hardware devices. And we have a lot of partners and manufacturers that have equipment that works very easily, not too far away from a plug and play solution. So we've been seeing a lot of success within that spectrum of events from cost and complexity and finding the right fit for the client depending on budget and how they want the solution to look. But it's very flexible, and we've been able to adapt the AI that we've used to almost any use case. However, that's required a lot of work from us here in the office. A lot of project management has been a really important part in preparing and making sure everything comes out correctly. As well as using our interpreter resources and human resources to help make sure that the glossaries really are correct, doing testing and making sure that we are comfortable with the level of accuracy in any given language. So there are a lot of human, there's a human touch on every level as we make one of these solutions a success. And that is about all I was going to share when it comes to interpretation. So before we move on to speak about translation, I'd like to just quickly pause and see if there were any questions.
Questions, if you can post it on the chat box, please. No questions so far, so maybe we can segue into the next part and we'll address the question. Now we have a couple of questions. So yeah, now 3 questions. So David, how would you like to do this? Maybe we go to the next segment and then we'll address the various questions. Your preference.
I think since it's fresh on the interpretation side of things, maybe we answer those questions, and then once we answer those, then we jump into the next section, which is translation.
Okay. Question from Shad. How are you seeing the interpretation tool being used by organizations?
Currently, we're using it from anywhere from a remote meeting similar to what we're doing here today to a fully on-site type of event with, up to 10,000 people. So I'd say those are kind of the two bookends, and anywhere in between, we've seen some sort of use. The way that I like to use it most myself is by supporting the main language needs with human interpreters. And usually the interpreters that we work with, we've known them for years and years and know where their strengths are and what topics they're very good at. So I do like to promote using our human resources first and then using AI as a supplement to cover all those other languages that maybe are one-offs or unexpected. And that way you're not having to say no to any attendees that do have language needs. However, any use case you can think of, we've pretty much been able to find a way to make it work.
Yeah, like houses of worship, they use these. The city councils, quite a bit of them are using these. University commencements, they're using these as well. Or all the way to just simple Zoom meetings like this one, like Swayze has been saying. And that one of the beautiful things is that you can use it in a hybrid mode, like Swayze just said, which is some of the languages using humans, and where it's more difficult to find a good AI tool for that particular language, and then some others just using AI. So, good question. Thank you.
Yeah. Second question is, how do you train your language models, liability-wise?
So I know Dave's going to talk a little bit more about the language models and kind of where they get their information from. However, liability-wise, it does not come from any of the user's data. So if you do use a tool like this, if you pick a partner that does well with their compliance and security, they should not be keeping or using your data to train the AI at all. It should be, all of your data should be encrypted both in transit and in rest. So it's actually using other sources to train and to learn, but not based off of anything that you input yourself.
The other thing that I would like to add is that this allows you to make it exclusive to your organization, meaning that let's just say that your organization has some glossaries or memories. You can actually train that the AI to learn those things and then to keep it within that organization environment. That means that it doesn't go out to the public. And we use encryption, and we are a SOC Type 2 compliance as well, and ISO 27001 compliance as well.
Another question is, true simultaneous interpretation between people something you see as potentially feasible in the next few years, or is it translating with a small lag for each sentence more likely even over the long term? How are things playing out here?
Yeah, that is a good question. And honestly, to get to the true simultaneous level where it feels like the AI is speaking as you're speaking, I think that it may be able to get to that level with some languages. However, there are certain languages that differ from English, for example, where, the verb or the word that's doing the work may be at the end of the sentence, where I don't really see a way that the AI could overcome, other than, reading the mind of the person who's speaking, to be able to keep up with them in that lifetime. I do see that there would be several languages that would require a full sentence to be completed before it can be translated through speech. But that's my guess. David, do you have thoughts on that?
Yes, this technology actually can even anticipate what you are going to say. We have the flexibility to turn that on or off. The problem is that when we turn it on, it can make mistakes, and then it goes back and correct it. But by then, it already have passed what you say. Uh, but uh, uh, but yes, I think it's developing. It will probably get better. Like Swayze said at the beginning, the latency with some of these technologies, it used to be very long, like 8 to 10 to 15 seconds even. And now it's becoming more like a 4 to 6 seconds. So it's evolving and it's improving.
So I'll ask two more questions. How much do these AI services generally cost? And, is there an app for this?
Yes, a lot of the platforms do have apps. For the most part, they're all web-based. And the one that we just showed you does not require an app. It just runs off of whatever cell phone or whatever web server you have on your phone. And then some of them you can download an app. Usually there's an option of doing one or the other, so it's not required. A lot of people with very large events don't want to make all of their attendees download something on their phones. So there's usually an option to either do an app or just access it off of like Google or another web browser. Um, and then as far as cost, it does vary. It depends on how many languages you're supporting. So if you're just doing captioning, so let's say like English to English captions or French to French captions, that's one of the cheapest services. And then in your middle ground is just two languages only. So we're supporting an event that is just English and Spanish, let's say. And then there's a multilingual event that could cover, up to the different 70 languages that are available right now. So those are kind of the tiers as far as what you're using. And then volume is the other thing that drives the cost. So if you have a small meeting of less than 50, medium-sized meeting, and then an extra large would be about 10,000 people. And then the more volume you have, the cheaper or the better deals you can get. So there are discounts based off of large volumes. But this could range anywhere from like $50 an hour to probably $650 an hour, just depending on what you really need.
Thank you. Excellent questions. So maybe we can move on to the next segment in
Yes.
a bit to Dave.
Yes. Yes, I will make the next introduction. Before we do that, I just want to make a full disclosure. All of these technologies that we are presenting, we are not the owners of that technology. We are the users, and in many cases, we are the distributor partner, but we have complete independence, meaning that today, I may be telling you about this technology. If you ask me in 3 months, I may be presenting a better technology, and that's the reason why we don't develop our own, because then we are just focusing on our own only, rather than using what is the best out there. And there is so many technologies that are coming out to market, especially lately, that give us that we having the freedom, flexibility. We are in a better position to serve our clients and our community. So, having said that, I would like to introduce Dave Brown, the head of our translation department, who will be focusing now on translation solutions using AI. Go ahead, Dave.
All right. Pleasure to be with all of you. Thank you for having me. My name is Dave Brown, and I'm a graduate of Brigham Young University Spanish Translation and Linguistics Department. So big fan of the Intermountain West and all the great schools represented here, and appreciate you letting me spend a few minutes with you. I never intended to go into translation. I went to law school, and I got smarter. I smartened up, got into business, and now I got connected with David over 3 years ago. It's been now they've been working on this, and just having a blast. One of the coolest things about it, besides getting to meet people from all around the world, I've talked to people in 19 time zones in the last 24 hours, is learning the newest technologies. It's so cool. I don't really look at this as a sort of the way things used to be versus how things are changing. It's kind of an outdated view of how things are. It's more to me like we're surfing the waves, or there's like a river and we're all whitewater rafting our way down the river, and it's just kind of part of the journey. That's how AI is feeling to me right now. And our goal is to be out in front of those waves and get the best waves we can. You can tell I'm from California. All right, everybody. So I want to talk a little bit about AI translation now. So, as David mentioned, machine translation has been around for a long time. And if you want to get technical, it's been around since the 1950s. We've been trying to use computers to do what humans can do. And when I was in school, a million billion years ago, there was a big joke that computers could ever do what humans could do. I remember sitting in a lecture in school and having someone come and present about Trados and machine translation. And literally the room was full of laughter, faculty and students, that machines would never be able to do this. And at the time, machines were just kind of translating at the word level. We have a big dictionary and the words just translate. And that was machine translation for a long time. It's pretty raw. And toward the beginning part of this century, we moved into an AI mode in the first decade and a half, where now machines, instead of just thinking at the word level, they could start thinking at the sentence level, which is quite a change. Instead of just a phrase, we have a whole idea, a full thought. And with more time, now paragraph level and even at the document level or beyond. And so this neural machine translation has, so AI translation is a type of machine translation. But today we use the term machine translation kind of for everything, and everybody mixes up the two terms. But just so we as professionals know the difference, neural machine translation thinks like a translator. It processes information and it makes decisions like a translator. And it really focuses on, specializes in translation. Over here, you have generative AI. This gets more of the public discussion. If you ever use ChatGPT, that's generative AI. Generative AI can do lots of things. So neural translation is, or now neural machine translation, and frankly today, practically we would just say machine translation. It's thinking like a translator. It's trained on translation modeling. That's all it does. Generative AI can do a lot of stuff. It can write a poem for you or make a picture for you. It can translate. You can also put in a document and say, can you make this at the fifth grade reading level? Can you make this at the first grade reading level? Generative AI can do a lot of stuff. And because of that, and because of how it trains, it can be a lot better at tone. It can be a lot better at colloquialisms because it's trained to kind of think like an everyday person and do lots of things. It also, as Swayze mentioned, may hallucinate. It can get really, really confident about answers that are not very good. I'm sure everybody in here has tried to use ChatGPT. It seems like a good idea for translating until you use it. And then after that, you're like, oh, it wasn't really that good after all. So these are some examples. And if you want to do translation full time, you really want to be operating most of the time with a translation engine. It's going to be cheaper for you, and it's going to be a little bit better in the general sense. But if you're doing colloquial speech, you probably are going to want to pull in Claude. We're doing a movie project right now with Claude, for example, and we're using ChatGPT on a couple of things. This is a little kind of a fascinating report here. It's reported by SEMrush. If you're familiar with SEMrush, they're kind of the leader in social media stats and internet linking, really an SEO specialist company. And they took some examples of ChatGPT and Perplexity, a couple AI tools, and showed the source of where they're getting their information. How do they learn how to talk? How do they know how to answer questions? Where are they getting their sources? And you'll see some really helpful sites here, probably like Wikipedia, maybe, or MapQuest, or LinkedIn. But then you also have like Quora and unfortunately Reddit and YouTube comments. And all of these do a good job of teaching a tool how to talk like an everyday person, but maybe aren't the best sources for information. So we all know by now to question what we get from ChatGPT. And also explains why it's sometimes pretty questionable when it comes to writing well. So you could send an email through ChatGPT and it's going to translate it pretty well into European languages, but try to do a trademark license agreement in Korean and ChatGPT is not going to keep up. So that's for kind of just a lay of the land. These are some of the partners that we work with. Google, Amazon, ChatGPT, the Sonnet is the current version of the Claude app, and Amazon. These are all kind of in that DeepL space, anywhere between generative AI and then over here, specialty translation software is neural machine translation. AI Lingo is a really fun one. This is a company out of Korea that specializes just in legal translation. And so they have a machine translation engine that's built for lawyers. And as you can imagine, in a litigation scenario, as a former lawyer, I used to go through thousands of emails and receipts and contracts, and to do all that in another language takes weeks and months, and it's prohibitively expensive. With a tool like AI Lingo, you can load in all these documents, and in the course of a few minutes, a lawyer who doesn't speak Korean can be reading and understanding whether this document is something they want to actually have a human translate or whether it's not relevant to their case. And they can even train on data from that law firm or from that client. And like David mentioned, keep it inside an area of security so it only is used for that client and doesn't get out, maintains confidentiality and privilege and things like that. If I were an educator interested in where AI is going in the future with translation, I would pay attention to hyper specialized translation tools that are really awesome for a particular industry. Are they awesome at chemistry or mining? Are they good at marketing communications? Whatever it may be, I think you'll see more of that into the future when it comes to the high dollar, high value impact. And then what I think is the most fun part is videos. Movies, we've all seen bad translations. We've all seen a bad kung fu movie where things don't line up and things are translated questionably. Things have come a long way for this. It used to be you also had to have a human being go into a studio and make a recording, but nowadays you just don't have to do that. You can translate it using AI, and you can also use a tool to create the voices themselves. What's important to know about this is that AI needs humans. It's not that great. And people like Google and Amazon and OpenAI have gotten ahead of us on the messaging. And I feel like the people I know in the United States think that ChatGPT is free and perfect. AI is the answer to every problem. It's the future, and it's going to be very low cost, and it's going to do everything for us. In reality, it is not free, and it is not that good, even in Spanish. It's okay. But you need humans. We still need humans. If you're a business or you're a government organization and you're sending out notices to people who are receiving Medicare notices, you can't just shrug your way through ChatGPT. The world still needs really high quality translations. You're sending out instruction manuals. You're doing compliance trainings. The world is full of communications that need to be really accurate, and humans are still needed for that. And if you're an educator or a student on this meeting, I'm here to tell you the need for humans is going to persist for decades and decades and decades in the industry. It's just going to shift precisely what the tasks are. And so I want to show you one example today of AI-powered dubbing. I'll pull up an example right here. This is a tool called Deep Dub. It's probably one of the top 2 softwares for AI dubbing. And this is an example of a French drama. This is the original. We have a woman who's met the new housekeeper, and she's made some disgusting, questionable food for them. But now I can switch it. I can switch it now to have English dubbing that someone did. This is someone did it on their couch at home.
We don't eat this kind of junk food here. No. Shh, shut up. I didn't actually ask you to speak. What are you trying to do? Poison me with this stuff full of gluten and butter. We don't eat stuff like that.
So this is what a tool looks like. It looks a lot like Adobe Premiere or Logic, and you can play around and you can move the segments around. This is work that translators are doing. We think of translators as doing the work of typing words in, but today translators are working in multimedia projects like this, doing captioning. They're doing dubbing work. Whatever needs doing, it can be done. It's really quite a fun thing. The really more exciting part that we kind of love, the frosting on the cake around here, is lip syncing. So I can do a dub using AI, but nowadays I can actually do it and make it look like the person is speaking that language. So I'll show an example here. This is a tour of a local facility here in Salt Lake City where people do record podcasts.
Hey, welcome to the studio. We are here at the old school where Film Lab is, and I'm going to show you our podcast studios and what you should do when you get here, whether you're a host or a guest. So come on in, follow me. You're going to park out here on the east side of the building. That is where the parking
This guy
lot
does
is.
not speak Spanish.
Hola, bienvenido al estudio. Estamos en la vieja escuela donde está Film Lab y voy a enseñarte nuestros estudios de podcast y lo que debes hacer cuando llegues aquí, ya seas presentador o invitado. Así que entra, sígueme. Vas a aparcar aquí en el lado este del edificio. Ahí es donde está el estacionamiento. Bolsas es donde está el estacionamiento. Por lo general hay muchos espacios. Entra por la puerta del lado este.
That's kind of wild, isn't it? A guy who doesn't speak Spanish at all. Just a quick example here. These are the top 20 languages spoken in Utah, where I live, and you can see most of them are covered by this type of tool. You won't see Cantonese covered. You won't see a lot of Native American or indigenous languages covered, Navajo and so on. It's not as commercially viable. But of course, humans, we can hire for any of those. I have one more example here. These guys do not speak German, but today we're going to make them speak German. The original of this is in English.
Hallo Lieven.
Thomas,
Bist du bereit für einen Roadtrip?
was ist mit deiner Stimme passiert?
Speziell für heute habe ich meine Joe Cocker Stimme. Wir haben also eine nette Playlist, aber da ist kein Joe Cocker drin. Also damit müssen wir leben. Bist du bereit für einen Roadtrip?
Yeah.
So the examples you're seeing here, these are people that have given us a video, and using the software, we can transcribe it, and then humans edit the transcription, humans edit the machine translation, and then the lip syncing part is mostly automated, but humans have to identify some of the parts and pieces of it. And this is my last one to share here. We've now been able to do this with sign language.
Hello, I am Gustavo Crocker, presenting on behalf of the Board of General Superintendents. Today, I would like to...
So this video has been automatically transcribed, and then AI is translating it into American Sign Language. But the syntax of American Sign Language is absolutely all over the place. And so as a result, you get a human that comes in to fix up the syntax, and then an AI avatar can actually go in and do the sign language themselves, and you don't have to have somebody in the studio for every last one of these. What this means is more accessibility for universities, for governments, for people that for whom ASL is their primary language. English captions is really a second language for most deaf people. And so being able to present this using AI is pretty fun.
Bring you an update regarding the 30th General Assembly, which is scheduled to convene from the 9th to the 16th of June 2000.
So from that, I can pass it back to David. David, you're on mute right now.
Yes, thank you so much, Dave, for this insightful presentation on translation. One thing I would like to share with you, and this is something recent that we didn't have time to even include it here because it happened as recent as yesterday. And let me tell you why it is. As you may know, when you use AI translations, then there is another technology that can do the scoring of that AI translation. And it can tell you, okay, this is 98% accurate. You can determine, okay, 98%, that's good enough. And then you just send it out or use it. Or the score is 85%, and you say, no, that's not good enough for me. And so in the past, you used to say, okay, I need to have a human person to go over the document. So you send it to a document. The person went over all of the document, trying to find where can be improved. And although it was much faster because it was 85% accurate, it took some time to do that. I just learned, like I said, as yesterday, that now the technology is basically now telling you, okay, the score is 85%, but it's telling you where perhaps what areas within the document are perhaps 50%, and what areas within the document are 98%. So the person that is doing the post editing, the translator, can go specifically to the areas where you need to look at this area and fix it, and rather than spending all of the time. So with that, you can spend minutes rather than hours to fix a document, and that is very remarkable. So what I'm trying to say here is that in the past, we humans went to AI for help. I see AI coming to humans, say, I need help with these areas for you to, can you fix it for me? Can you help me with these nuances and things that I cannot do because I'm not human? So that is coming, and that is now actually, that's yesterday, but I think that is going to become more normal within the next months to come. I'm very excited about it, about the future. And of course, here are some of my key takeaways that I would like to share with you before I give you the time to ask any questions. The first one is AI won't replace humans. It will just reshape language professions. AI plus human collaboration is really the future, like I mentioned in the example that I just gave you. New skills needed: tech, ethics, cultural intelligence. University must adapt curricula to include AI and cross-disciplinary training, like life sciences, like law, business, engineering. The next one is trust, security, and ethics will set professionals apart. And lifelong learning is a key to staying relevant. In other words, like Dave was saying, we are going to college is not going to be a destination. When you get your diploma, is basically where perhaps you start your journey. And then my final remark is AI will not eliminate language professions. It will transform them. Universities that succeed will be the ones preparing students not just to survive, but to lead and thrive in this human plus AI future. Thank you so much. And now we are open to any questions or comments that you may have.
Thank you, David. Thank you very much. And again, thanks to your colleagues. Please post your questions on the chat. Kelsey, if you can, we can't hear you, so if you can post your question, and I will relay your question to David.
I can't post my question.
Okay, you can. Okay, so you can. Yeah.
Is that okay? Ahead. Okay. Sorry, it didn't have, I don't know where the option is for chat, but I tried poking around and it's not where it normally is. So my question is for, you mentioned for like localized and regional languages that those might not necessarily be as available because of how specific language is. So when you get into an industry that has very specific language, for instance, you were talking about contracts and lawyers and government. What about how like medical industries would use specific medical terms or engineering terms, for instance, like an aerospace engineering? How are you trying to get into those industries or working with those industries as of this moment?
Yeah, and that's a similar question from Darian as well. So focusing on medical terminology.
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, as far as medical goes, the great thing about more specialized industries is sometimes that the terminology actually becomes more limited. I don't have a hard time translating medical or legal, to be honest. There's only so many ways to translate a survivability clause in a contract. The hardest translation for AI, and this doesn't really answer your question, but the hardest translation is a funny text message or a tagline that some great marketing person wrote. It doesn't translate in German, Right now we're working with a company called Bullfrog Spas. They're out of Utah here, international company. They're expanding into Europe. And they started by translating just their tagline, translating all their materials to the German language. And then as they release it to the market, they're realizing it doesn't quite feel the same, even though we translated it correctly. And so that kind of content, we've become essentially partners with them, working with our linguists to rewrite their brand guide in a new language. That kind of thing is challenging. But maybe more to your focused question, there are models that work well for specific industries. I mentioned the AI Lingo app kind of being geared at that industry. And so for our part, what we're trying to do is stay current on which ones are best for which uses. And as far as our value add as a company, again, it's our network of thousands of translators that can show up and just really make sure it's right. The biggest challenges are probably in the live medical interpreting space. And I don't know if Swayze can talk to that, but if you're a patient visiting a doctor, boy, you want to get that translation right.
Yeah, medical speaking, the AI usually has some issues still with HIPAA compliance. So we're not quite there to actually be using it in hospitals at the moment, but maybe checking in for an appointment, kind of easing into that space. But since you brought up the aerospace environment specifically, that's an interesting one that I wanted to just mention because we can work with AI in that field and train it. For example, what are the different parts of an airplane or a helicopter that you may need to know? But on the other hand, one of our clients actually uses interpreters to learn how to fly in the helicopter, and they go up with a consecutive interpreter, and the pilot and the person learning to pilot the plane don't speak the same language. And they even do drills where they turn off the motor for a couple seconds in free fall. And if you can imagine being in that type of situation, that's not a situation I would like to rely on AI for the interpretation for those few seconds. So I think there still will be instances like that where you may just always want to have a human interpreter no matter what. But before you go up in the helicopter when you're in the classroom, we could facilitate that type of communication using AI currently.
Thank you. Another question from Antonio. Hi, Antonio. Are traditional interpreters human beings already being replaced by AI work?
Are humans being replaced, Swayze?
I would say that there are some scenarios where clients are using AI interpreters due to budget cuts, but I don't know if they would have, if AI wasn't an option, it probably is more where they would have just canceled the interpretation entirely rather than using a human interpreter. So it is helping people to still have some sort of interpretation. But I wouldn't say that it's replacing any humans necessarily at this point because there is still needed to help train and to be a part of the team.
Let me add also to this. In the beginning, I mentioned that there is a lot more content to be translated or interpret than there are humans or even AI tools. So what we are noticing is that in the past, for example, in interpretation specifically, clients of us, they came and say we have these two large events every year, and then we were doing those events for them using simultaneous interpretation, using humans to do that. But now, because the cost using AI has reduced, now they're coming to us and they're saying, hey, you know what? We can also use perhaps AI for our weekly meetings. So things that they didn't do before, now they can do because of these solutions. Or for example, an OPI, over the phone interpretation, like financial institutions. They were not able to provide all the languages that were available, but because of the AI that can do OPI now, they say, okay, for certain languages which OPI is very good, we are going to use this AI tool. So it's not that they're reducing the number of humans, it's just that they're actually expanding and providing more services because they're becoming more affordable. Like in the past, they couldn't because it was price prohibited. Did that make sense?
Thank you. David, and again, your colleagues, what are some of the, again, best-in-class practices that you're seeing, at universities, following your advice for universities to, embrace, this development and better prepare our students, again, for this new normal?
So let me start, and then of course I would like to give the time to Swayze and also to Dave because I think they have some ideas too on this. But I will say that talking to the students and teaching them how to use these AI tools is super important. I think, and telling them that there is more than just doing the traditional translation work, like Dave was talking about. There is things to do like dubbing, for example, where you are using your language skills to edit perhaps some of the things that AI is doing not 100% correct. So basically opening their horizon about the opportunities for them to have, and also again telling them that the destination is not your diploma. We are just equipping you with different things that you can do, different tools that you can use, and teaching them those things, and helping them to know that there will be always opportunities for them to work, but perhaps it may be different to the opportunities that they were thinking when they started the program.
Amen.
Yeah.
When I started out when I was a teenager, I wanted to be in print journalism. I thought I was going to write for a newspaper. I toured the newspaper facility, and I loved newspapers. I loved getting it and reading it. And imagine my surprise that as an adult, I stopped subscribing to the newspaper. Crazy how things have shifted. But I want to echo what David said. For when someone shows up at our doorstep to begin working with us, I don't really expect them to know any of the softwares that we use. It's great if they do. It's great if your senior year program is like use the latest and greatest. But more so, I want them to believe in themselves that they can solve problems and that they can learn new tools. The biggest hindrance and barrier I see to success in new students and old students is sort of looking at something and just getting flustered and walking away from it. That kind of mentality doesn't serve you well in today's economy, really in any industry, but especially in one that revolves around language and technology. So maybe the idea is, I heard someone say, instead of being a know-it-all, try to become a learn-it-all.
Thank you. That's a very good point. And I think, the curriculum, should again impart some of those skills, to help our students, be better learners as they, join very innovative companies such as your company. There's another question here. What is the most challenging aspect of implementing a quality control policy for vetting that your agency employs before contracting a technology solution?
I can start answering that, and then Dave, you might have some thoughts as well. But what we do is in our office here, we spend a lot of time just learning the back end of a platform. So kind of piggybacking on the last answer is this isn't going to be an area where you learn something once and you're done. You're going to continually be learning new technologies. And for us, we actually just fully test it out. If we have a use case in mind, we find the AI platform that we think is the best fit, and then we actually run the entire scenario before we go and employ anything on site or with an actual client event. So we test it, and sometimes the solution we thought would work wasn't actually the best fit, and we need to pivot. But we do like to, by the time we're actually at an event or doing some work with a client, we want to be confident and not only assume that it will work, but know that it will work. So it's just a constant process of testing and learning, and then seeing if there's anything better out there that we might want to learn as well.
Amen.
One of the things I would like to say something about what Swayze said. As you can imagine, we get bombarded by companies, developers, and technology companies that tell us we have the latest and greatest, and we would like you to use this or to help to partner with us on this. So what I do is, okay, give it to us, and then I tell our team, hey, can you practice? And of course they will everything, and they end up breaking the system, and they will tell, sorry, this is not as good as we thought. We are very demanding when it comes to implementing a new technology. It has to do everything right, and it has to do it consistently, and it has to be stable. In other words, do it the same thing it says it does in any scenario. And it takes a lot of times on our part to basically put to market a new product, including those that we have presented to you today. Dave?
Yeah, part of the question I heard was also how do you ensure quality? And I would say, besides the technology side, for us, really a differentiator is the people that we work with. So we go through quite a vetting process here. We have all these inbound people constantly, every day, applying to be a translator with us, and we like to know who majored in the language, who studied it. Maybe they even studied translation. Are they educated? Not just do they speak French, but do they have a degree in French literature? And we don't really like to work, as often with beginners. Maybe we will if it's a really obscure language, but for the most part, we want to work with people with tons of professional experience. If you're a student listening to this and you really want to get into translation, start by translating birth certificates and marriage certificates and just cut your teeth and get tons of experience and practice. And then we interview every single person we work with. We know them all personally. If I meet people at a cocktail party and try to tell them, what do you do? I say, I'm kind of like the Uber for translation. If you need something translated, call me and I'll find somebody out there for it. Except that the secret sauce is I know all the drivers. So we call the people and say, I think you'd be perfect for this. The translators in our network, I know when they're awake. I know the names of their kids and what they like to eat. And so the secret sauce is that human and technology combination, so that we know the latest technology, but also when they say, hey, do you have 40 Korean people who can translate movies? We go, yeah, we totally do. And here's their names. We're ready to go. And so that really is one of the big differentiators. It's hard to just Google translate everything myself. That's where we try to provide value to businesses and organizations and schools and things like that.
Thank you. Other questions. I would like to provide an opportunity for our RMCIBER members, to faculty and colleagues, students, to ask their question if you have any questions. So you can post it in the chat. Shad, any question? From you, I have a question, but I'll defer to you too. So I see.
No, I think this is fantastic. This is giving me a lot of thought of how we can help our students more and prepare them for the future. But also, I think it's very positive and the future looks bright for translation.
Thank you. Are you doing work, in high schools or middle school to have that pipeline so that things will be so much easier for us when they get to the university?
Are you asking David if we're working with high school and middle school students?
The answer to you is that they invite us from time to time to go to schools and give a presentation to the students, but not as often as they should. I wish that but perhaps we as agencies practitioners should be doing more of that and be more rather than waiting for them to call us. Some schools they do, and I go and do presentations. Some of them they don't, because I think they don't know even that we exist even. So there is an opportunity for improvement for sure there. Before I forget, Manuel, one thing I wanted to say to you on your previous question, and I think it's very important for anybody that is here. If there is one thing that I know that changing a curriculum is super difficult and it takes a lot of time. But there is only one thing that you can do that can make a big difference, is if you were to require the students to do an internship. That one thing can make the whole difference in the world. And especially the internship is relevant to what they're studying, meaning that if this is about translation or business in translation or something like that they are doing that in an agency, in a company that has a department that they deal with translations. I think if you were to require that, that will really make a huge difference. But anyway, thank you.
David, thank you for that. And I know in Ohio we talk about that, and I've shared with you, my interest in doing that, and placing some of our students in companies like yours, and also doing some co-op program. So thank you for pointing that out. My colleague Jingting Liu has a question. You said that the AI technology is enabling more content being translated or interpreted. Have you seen a growth in your business volume since the application of AI?
I will let Dave answer this because I think he's the one that's being the most affected by this.
Yeah, the answer is it's been more of a shift, but yeah, definitely a big increase. David's laughing because we've taken on an enormous movie translation project. We've partnered with somebody and we're doing hundreds of movies right now, and it's been a lot of hours. So it's been busy and it's been really fun, and it's something that would not have ever been possible without AI. You would have just seen all that content locked up forever, but soon it will be coming to a undisclosed streaming service.
Yeah.
Close to you.
In fact, right now we are in need of 200 people to help us with this, and we are looking at students. So if you know any students that are interested in having a part-time job or something that that provides flexible hours and good pay and remote work, please send them our way. We're looking for like 200 people. There is so much work.
Yeah. The example I shared before where we're making dubs into English, that's the kind of work that we have a ton of need for right now. So you don't have to speak any foreign language, just understand how people talk in America in English, and you can help us if that's a technology that you're interested in. I know we have educators on the call, but I understand there's also perhaps some students. So anybody who's interested, please reach out to us. We'd love to have you on our team.
Thank you very much for that, kind offer. We'll take you up on it. We have our faculty colleagues here, for example, from CU Boulder, our colleagues from the CU Denver campus, and I'm sure Shad and our network of schools in the Rocky Mountain Cyber. We will for sure make this available. So
thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Any other final questions? Any questions? Well, okay. Mary said my colleague from CU Boulder will definitely be sharing with our students, in Boulder, and I'm sure all of the other campuses here, as well. So this is
thank you all.
This is great. David, this is wonderful. Thank you very much, Swayze, Dave, and Stella. Earlier, very much appreciate you sharing your expertise and experience and demonstrating state of the art technologies and how it's being deployed in your company. We have some last minute questions, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to share them with you, and then if you can be kind enough to relay the responses for that. I would like to take this opportunity to again thank our partner, Shad. Thank you very much for actually organizing this for us. Your colleague Jonathan Wood got this started working with me, Karen, and Kayla in our team here. Thank you very much. I want to acknowledge and recognize our partners in the RMCIBER network. There are over a dozen of schools that participated in this event. Let me also thank one of our sponsors for this lecture, the Gibson Fund, the Greg and Carol Gibson Fund for supporting our International Executive Roundtable. Thanks to our business school, for their support, and of course, the Office of the Provost, for their support, of CU Denver. Do you have any announcements, to make, Kayla or Karen, before we adjourn?
Just that the recording will make that available to everybody who is here today, as well as a few people who were unable to join us but really wanted to be here. And also, as Stella has been putting in the chat, there's the link to the job application, but we will also send that out as well. So Stella asks if you will please share that with your students, or if you are a student, just go ahead and apply now. And Stella, be ready for an influx of applications.
Great. And of course, to the U.S. Department of Education, Center for International Business Education and Research, thank you very much, for, their support. And more than ever, this is very, very important, David, to prepare our students so that, they can work in, compete in, and contribute to, globalizing economy. What you're doing is so, leading edge and so important, in helping our U.S. companies do business overseas, and for our students to work for these companies. And thank you, and we'll adjourn here. And if you have any questions, again, please post it on the chat box, and we will relay it to David and his team. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Be well.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.